CEDA has been contributing to Australian economic development and policy for 65 years. I've been actively engaged in CEDA's discussion for more than 3/4 of that time. It's good to be here again. It's no surprise that most Australian business and most Australians are not yet looking forward to the next great Australian economic transformation. This is the long expansion of investment and exports using Australia's renewable energy and sustainably harvested biomass resources to export zero-carbon goods to countries that lack the resources to make them themselves. This is Australia's superpower transformation. The superpower transformation can lift Australia out of the dog days into a new era of sustained increases in living standards if we allow sound economic principles to guide energy and industry policies. The first and third transformations of the Australian economy over CEDA's life were driven by developments in other countries, economic development in Japan in the 1960s and China in the early 21st century. The second was built on domestic economic reform. The superpower transformation requires change in other countries as well as economic policy reform at home. We need other countries to be reducing emissions. We can make a good start in building profitable superpower export industries if other countries are making a good start with reducing the emissions intensity of economic activity. Other countries are making that start and continuing despite the Trump administration's assertion that the science of atmospheric physics is fake news. The Superpower Institute's paper, The New Energy Trade, shows that the countries that matter most to Australia's opportunity have high incomes and levels of industrial activity and low per capita endowments of the resources necessary to make zero-carbon goods. For the time being, these are the economies of Northeast Asia and Europe. They are all committed to and making progress towards net zero emissions. The United States was always going to be broadly self-sufficient in zero-carbon goods, as it has always been in the high-carbon goods for the old economy. Trump protectionism and withdrawal from international climate cooperation does not directly damage Australia's superpower opportunity. But it would be damaging if it turned European and Northeast Asian economies, or Australia, away from open trade and away from net zero emissions. There is no sign of Europe or Northeast Asia turning away. Assertion of European, including British and Scandinavian policy independence from the Trump United States has confirmed commitment both to open trade and to net zero emissions. Japan, Korea, and Taiwan, while understandably nervous about where the Trump disruption will go next, have not moved towards Trump positions on climate. China, already having accelerated its own decarbonisation as the economy moved out of its COVID slump, has seen geopolitical as well as economic opportunity in strengthening commitment to international cooperation beyond the US on both trade and climate. Two important international developments over the past 2 weeks have reinforced commitment to achieving agreed global climate goals. The death of Pope Francis reminded much of humanity of the ethical imperatives of action on climate change. The second big international development is the election victory of the Canadian Liberal Party led by Mark Carney. The Canadian Prime Minister is deeply knowledgeable about the economics of climate change and its mitigation. His victory has reinforced Canadian commitment to international cooperation on climate change. Prime Minister Carney has emphasised the importance of countries other than the US remaining open to and cooperative with each other on trade and climate change, while encouraging but not waiting for eventual US re-engagement. Contemporary and emerging international conditions allow Australia to make a strong start in exporting zero-carbon goods. Australian diplomacy and policy can help to preserve and expand those conditions. Why hasn't the economics driven early development of green iron, green chemicals, and other zero-carbon industrial production using hydrogen? The answer is simple, uncontested economics. Economics that's been in the textbooks for 100 years. This economics has been accepted by economists like Friedman and Hayek at the extreme free market end of the debates about the role of government in economic development. We haven't seen much investment in the industries of the future, despite Australia's advantages, because the policy foundations have not been laid. This is because we have not had financial incentives for innovation in line with the benefits to society. We have not had the green premium on zero-carbon production that recognises the advantages to us all from reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Markets work wonders for economic development whenever and wherever trade brings benefits to society similar to the benefits accruing to the contracting parties. But they don't work for economic development if and when business transactions confer large benefits to firms or people who are not parties to the market exchange, or impose large costs on parties outside the exchange. These are externalities, benefits or costs not captured by the parties to the exchange. Two large externalities are important in the transition from the fossil carbon to the zero-carbon economy. There is a positive externality associated with innovation, the development of new technologies, business institutions and products. There is a negative externality from emission of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Innovation generates benefits that the investing firms cannot capture for themselves. Pioneer investors in new ways of doing things show others what works and what is worth trying. They make costly mistakes that followers avoid. They generate knowledge from which followers benefit. Investments that embody first-of-a-kind use of a technology can cost many times as much as applications when the technology is well established. So sound economics has taught for 100 years that we don't get enough innovation unless governments provide financial support for it. Markets don't work for economic development unless governments block economic transactions that impose large costs on others, or apply taxes that recoup for society the damage done to others, or subsidise competing activities. There is a negative externality, a cost imposed on others, when a firm releases carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Australia has recently returned to progress in laying the policy foundations for the superpower. The economic principles are set out clearly and well in the National Interest Framework for a Future Made in Australia, released by the Commonwealth Treasury with the 2024 budget. But we won't make large progress until the principles are turned into policies that provide the right level of support for innovation in zero-carbon production and a green premium equal to the social benefits from replacing emissions-intensive with zero-carbon activity. The uncertainty and instability of policy over the past 12 years have increased the damage to investment and innovation. Incentives are more likely to unlock the magic of the market in expanding investment and innovation if they are provided in general form with stability over long periods, with conditions known in advance by all market participants.